And welcome back to Russ Plays Games. My name is Russ, and as you can see, we're sitting in front of my paint station. And, well, I have Hadvar from the Elder Scrolls: A Call to Arms. He's the guy front and center right here. And so we'll be painting him up today. A little bit, but while I'm kind of waiting for him to dry, his little base coat is drying up in there. While that's doing that, I was going to kind of show you some of the projects that I have been working on. One of the main things that I've been working on lately is for sword and sorcery, okay? As you know from my previous episodes of the Let's Play, each of the characters that I have has been painted, except with the exception of the ghost soul form of Mist. I didn't have that one. But I bought a brand new character named Tristan, and he's a banner bearer, uses spears, halberds, that kind of stuff. And I've been wondering if I might want to use this guy in my actual Sword and Sorcery Let's Play. So, drop a comment below. Let me know if you'd like to see this guy in the Sword and Sorcery Let's Play. Because if you do, I will throw him in. It will up the number of guys we have and the number of other things that we've got going on. Plus, I've been working on some Lord of the Rings. These are the elves from the Last Alliance of Elves and Men. I have a couple of these guys that I've gotten done so far, and I have a couple more right here. You can kind of see them in frame. They're being done. I haven't quite gotten to them yet. And then I have also I got some of the other goblins done, and so now I'm on to trying to get some of the spearmen done out of the way. I've got a ton of these guys. I mean, my pile of shame is just, it's huge. I mean, you can even see some of it right in front of you here. Like, I have some Age of Sigmar stuff. Like, here's a Retributor. We still have to get to this gal. And I also, I had purchased at one point a board game from episode 1 called the Battle for Naboo 3D action game. And what this is you have a bunch of figures, Star Wars episode 1 figures, okay? And you move them around, and you have this little catapult, and it's got the little Gungan energy ball. And what you do is you tap this catapult, and the ball goes flying, and it hits a little cardboard backing, and then it falls down into a little channel. And each channel has a little symbol. In each symbol, you can do something a little different. You can move, you can attack, you can, do different things. And it came with some really cool, really high quality figures. And so I thought that I would go ahead and paint them up. So here's Obi-Wan. Okay. And here's Qui-Gon. I haven't done Darth Maul yet because he kind of scares me a little bit. All the tattoos on his face and everything. And then, because they're simplistic, here's some battle droids. So here's some just normal B1 battle droids. This guy decided to do as a security battle droid, because he's got the red, you can see. And then this guy is OOM9, the commander. He's got the little electro binoculars there, and I painted him yellow. I gave him a little yellow on his head and then a little yellow circle kind of in the front there. So, and so far those are the only ones I painted. But interesting note: if you're looking to get into Star Wars Legion, you could buy one of these games, and then all you have to do is buy like a little pack from the from Fantasy Flight that has the different cards and the different attributes for all the different characters. And so like you could have you know Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Darth Maul and battle droids and all that kind of stuff without having to go out and spend a whole host of money. Okay, you can kind of do it however you want. So kind of looking at some of the different things that I have done, I came across, this was actually one that an old girlfriend of mine did. This is a Reaper miniature. It's an elven character, and I can't remember what the name of the elven character is, but anyway, she really liked elves, and so she did this one, and so I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but it's there just to kind of remind me of how I need to, continue working. I've also taken this chick. I haven't decided what I want to do with her yet either. Because she could be an elf, she could be a human, she could be... There's plenty of things that she could be. I painted her up to be an elf, so like I said, I'm not sure what I wanted to do. I also have... I was thinking about making a cafe... Cathay army for Warhammer Fantasy Battles at one point. And so I bought this samurai, and I bought a bunch of like olden kind of ancient Japanese style characters that I was going to throw in an army and use. I just never got around to painting the guy. So if you want to see me paint him up, I mean, hell, I might even be able to put him in the Elder Scrolls Call to Arms. So, I mean, there's different ways of looking at things. But let's come back to our friend Hadvar. First thing we're going to do with Hadvar here is we are going to paint up his face and hands. Because that's what we always do. You always want to start with the base coat, and you always want to start with the flesh, because the flesh is the hardest one to put on. Okay? One thing you have to be very, very careful of when you're doing these miniatures is the joints are very, very weak. And so, like, I had to actually put his arm back on today, which kind of sucked. So I'm going to be trying to be very careful with him, because I don't want him to have an issue with that. So otherwise, that sucks. You start to have issues. Because then you have to go back and paint them all back on, and glue them back on, and you have to paint them back up, and it just gets kind of crappy. Now, things that I need to do, I think, is just making sure, because it looks a little wet down there, but I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't. Because if it is, it makes it my life really difficult at times to go in and try to fix. And you want to watch out because Hadvar's Hadvar's mouth is open, so it's not quite closed. And if you can kind of see, his mouth is open, so you want to be careful of that when you go to look at it. When you go to paint it, you want to make sure that you don't get any paint, any of this paint way deep down inside there, because otherwise it's going to make it really difficult to to get paint where you need it to go, if that makes sense. The problem is with some of these poses is that it is extremely difficult to get paint in where you need it. Okay. Sorry about my forearm there. I sometimes forget I'm recording, and then I go in there to look at it, and I'm like, oh no, my big-ass forearm's stuck in the way. What am I doing? Okay. One of the things I like to do on the hands is I get most of the paint off on the first pass, and then I will come back over the top and make sure I get the fingers. And so if you can kind of see the separation between the fingers. Now how you do that is you're just going to take the brush and you lightly, it's almost like a dry brush, you just kind of lightly pass it over the fingers. And what you can do is after you get done doing that once or twice, then you come back and you just dip the very tippy tip. I know it's hard to see, but my brush comes up to a tip, and then on that tip I have like a small little curl, okay? And on that small little curl, I just dip the tiniest amount of paint, and then I come and I get each individual finger. Now, on certain models, that's going to be almost impossible to do. And when that happens, just go, like, get the face somewhere, okay? Get most of the paint off of it first, and then go back and just do the technique that I was explaining before, which is you come up and over the fingers something like that. Okay, and you can see that the first two fingers I did with my method, and then the other two fingers I've done with the dry brush, and you can kind of tell that there is a lot more paint on the first two fingers. Okay, when I say the first two fingers, I'm talking about the index. So he's holding on to his sword like this, okay? And there's a little bit of separation between his fingers. And you can tell on these two fingers, when I say the first two fingers, I'm talking the index and the middle finger. Okay, there's a lot more paint here than there is on this finger and this, the ring finger and the pinky finger, okay? Because the ring finger and the pinky finger, I haven't done this method with it yet. And if you get a little bit of paint in between the fingers, don't fret. Not that big of a deal. The biggest thing that I would say is that that's a step for when we get to our shading phase. That will be the step for the shading. Okay. Now, when we did the Imperial Mage character, they did not have a shield. They had basically, let me clean this off. Sometimes get a buildup of paint on the bristles, and so it's a good idea to wipe it off, get it back to as best a point as you can, something like that. Okay, you can kind of see that tip there on the brush that I'm talking about. Okay, you can kind of see where there's a little bit of a curl right at the end. Okay, and that's what I'm talking about. Right up there at the end of that curl is where I'm going to put the paint, and that's what I'm going to use. Oh, stop it. And that's what I'm going to use to paint each individual finger on the inside of the shield here. Okay, I know it's hard to see. Okay, but you can kind of see the fingers there on the shield. Okay. But you can kind of see, it's hard, like I said, it's hard to see, but you can kind of see where there's this line. So basically he's holding on to it like this. And so what you're getting is you're getting right here, you're getting down here, and then you're getting these four fingers. Okay? From here all the way up to about that knuckle. Okay? And again, there's a little bit of separation in between each one, allowing you to get your brush in there and paint each individual one. Now, I got a little bit too much paint on there, so when I went to go paint, I had to actually, I painted down here, and then I painted under here, and then I went back and I just kind of pulled down, okay? Sometimes it's the easiest way to do it. Okay. Now, unlike the actual game of Skyrim, even though these characters have certain, boots and stuff like that on, they don't actually, that's not actually part of their equipment. You take my meaning? You don't actually care too much about the boots that they're wearing. It looks like he's wearing, from the back, it looks like he's wearing fur boots. But from the front, more like regular boots. Like Imperial style boots. It's kind of funky. It'll be interesting when we get to it. Because he's got like fur on his boots. Oh, Hadvar. Crazy dude. Yes, Hadvar's a crazy dude. I actually really like Hadvar. I really like going through the thing with him, even though the Empire does try to cut your head off at the beginning of Skyrim. You're like, you know, I kind of like Hadvar. I don't know. Ralof is a bit weird. I guess I've always liked the Imperium. Even though I do the Dark Brotherhood and kill the Emperor. It's fun, you know. This is the hard part, and this is why we do some of this stuff first, is because you're going to be a little messy on this part. There's really not a whole lot of space between Hadvar, his leg and his boots, and his little skirt there. Now, that is a bracer, but that is his arm. Okay. I'm just double checking because right here is his arm. His actual physical arm and elbow and stuff. But you have to be careful because there's a shirt comes down there, and similar to the Imperial Mage, how the shirt comes down, there's like some of it that'll hang down a little bit further, and so you'll have little gaps like this where, you know, a bit of his arm shows through, and then you have like a piece of material sticking down like this, and so you've got one pulled up way like this, and you've got another one way down like that. So it's, you know, you have to be really careful where everything is and how you're painting this. Okay. Show you here in a second where that stuff is. Like I said, this is why we do this first, is because this is the hardest base layer. But as you can see, there's his elbow, and it goes all the way underneath. Okay? And we do somewhat the same thing on the other side. This side's going to look a little strange because this is the side that broke off. I don't think I got it quite on perfect. But again, it doesn't have to be 100%. Just has to work, right? Okay. Now, once we have that, the next color that we're going to do because it's just the easiest way to do things, is Leadbelcher. This is my go-to for like normal sword and metal and like everything. Like I've used it on my 40K scout sniper rifles, and I've used it on their bolter guns. You know, I've even used it on like the little metal parts on his head and like on his sword, on the bolt pistol handle over here. Okay. Point being, it's like my go-to metal color because like it works for everything. Like that guy's sword is Leadbelcher. In fact, well, this is the steel color. Okay, from it's a gunmetal gray steel color that I use from Full Guard. Okay, and it has a much different feel to it than the Leadbelcher, which is what you can kind of tell the difference between the two here. Okay. The Leadbelcher has a much smoother, more even finish, whereas the steel has a bluer color to it, and it's a little bit more harsh. And to me, it just works a lot better. Okay. So, come on, you. Alright. So, this step is going to take a while because he's got a lot of metal on him. This one is not just his sword and the hilt, it's like, if you look at the box, you can see that he has a lot more metal on him than everybody else, okay? Now, what we're probably going to do is I'm not going to color this portion of his skirt down here. So this portion of his skirt, I'm going to fill in the top part first, and then I'll fill in the Leadbelcher over the top. But I will get the little chainmail that peeks out underneath right here. Okay. I'll just kind of hit that real quick just to show you. But basically, this is like a chainmail skirt that he has on. Okay. And that little chainmail piece right there, okay, that's what I'm getting. Okay. I'm going to get that, and I'm going to get like these little parts here. Okay. This little part here. There's also this portion right underneath it, okay, which is kind of like a breastplate. So he's got those big sides that come over, and then they connect to this like chest plate right here, okay. Also, we're going to get all of this silver around the shield, okay. Which, if you're following along and you're using your book, or you're using the guide, the front box art as a guide, you'll see that. Okay. Now, the backside may not be kind of like the Imperial Mage. It's kind of up to your interpretation how you decide you want that to look. I'm just going to try to keep it as consistent with the front box cover as I can, because that's just going to make it easier for me to paint. But you're free to go ham however you want to do it. You can make it your own. You are more than welcome. And we're coming up on time. So I think probably what I'm going to do is is I'm going to stop, and then really quick I'm going to fill in all this stuff. And then when we come back, I will fill in the I'll fill in the browns around his skirt, and then we'll come back and we'll paint all of the metal in there. Okay? So for me, it's going to be a little bit, but for you, not going to be that long. I'll see you in less than a second. And we're back. So, as you can see, we have gotten everything that needs to be silver, including his belt buckle, his chainmail skirts, the pauldrons here in the front, his vambraces here, and on the back we've got the shield. One thing I'm going to do really quick while I've got the opportunity is I have this sterling silver color, and I kind of like it. I think, I don't know what it's going to look like. That's a little better. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. And once it gets all down in there, once it dries, I think it'll look really good. Okay. I know it's kind of hard to see right now, but once I get it all down, once we get all the colors in place and all that stuff, it'll look good. It will. Okay. So as you can see, we got the shield, we got the sword, we got all the bits of metal. Now, I think I'm going to use Mournfang Brown. This is a brown that I use for a lot of leather straps and a lot of different things. It's a really good leather color. I think this is what we're going to use for the brown. Use a little bit of a different color when we get to the little pouch that he has on his back. We'll use a tiny bit of a different color, which is fine. But for right now, this is the one thing I cannot stand about this brush. It falls apart at the slightest provocation. Sorry about that. My big forearm in the way. So the problem is the camera's right there. And so even though, and I'm still a good foot away from the camera. I'm not joking, okay? If I were to go straight up to the camera, you can see how big my finger's going. So even though I'm a foot away, and this is exactly, like you can kind of see this right here is my water cup, okay? and that's a good foot away from the camera. I'm not joking, okay? It's a good 10, 12 inches away from the camera. So when I go to, to wash my brush, it's like my forearm looks so big, and I'm sorry about that. I try not to do that so that you guys aren't like, oh my god, what the hell is this big ass forearm doing in the way? Now, this is not going to be used for the little planks inside his shield, okay? His shield has little wooden planks that are in there. We're not going to use that for this. This brown is only for like his belts and like little parts of and so what I was talking about before was paint a couple of these so you can kind of see them. His little kind of skirt has these little parts, and then at the ends, and I'll paint underneath them so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So you can see where the little black parts are. Where those black parts are, that's what we're going to be coloring silver. But say I wanted to put this on first because anything else is going to be covered up by the silver. So any mistakes we make are going to be covered up by the silver, so we don't have to go back if we accidentally cover a portion of it with the brown, we don't have to go back and color them in again, if that makes sense. Okay? Just saves us from having to do more work. Okay? Especially here on the front because, wow, there's not a lot of space. That's what I was afraid of. Painting all of those little parts would have made it almost impossible to get back in there and paint over them with the brush, you know, to have to go back in. So I'd paint all of it with the silver, and then I have to come back and paint it all again because they'd be just super done. And there we go. So now his little skirt is done. Okay, this is the pouch I'm talking about right here. Okay, we're not going to get that right now. We're going to get that with a different one in a little bit. Okay. Once again, when I go silent, I'm just concentrating on trying to get the paint where I want it to go. I think I'm running out on you guys here. I just don't want the paint to be where I don't want it to be. I want it to be exactly where I want it to be. Sometimes that requires a little bit of concentration. And then the leather straps that connect the greaves and the band braces to the arms and that stuff. We're going to get those with the same color that we're going to do the pouch. There we go. All right. Okay. Now. Look at his. Okay. That one's going to be a dark brown, and then I suppose we could go ahead and do that. So it shows that this fur is sort of a brownish color, similar to the leather that the boots are made of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint them this color, and then later on we will highlight it in the other color just to kind of make it stand out a little bit. I'll show you how that step goes. But as you can see, there's the boots. Okay, and then we've got the insides of the van braces on both sides. Okay, does that make sense where we are right now? So I got the strap around. Let me close this down so that I don't lose the paint, because it's very expensive paint. So I got this strap here, okay? I got that, and I got these, okay? And we're going to hit these straps on the back and these straps here with a little bit different brown, okay? And that brown is going to be this moccasin brown that I use a lot, okay? It's a Anita's acrylic craft paint. I really like that stuff. It is some of the best stuff for straps. But before we do that, we're going to come back. I'm going to pull out the lead belcher again. Okay. Oh, keep throwing stuff around here. All right. And then what we're going to do is we are going to color the bottom of the parts of the skirt that we just painted the brown. Okay. And if you get a tiny bit of paint in the brown, it's not that big a deal. Just go back and clean it up after you get done. Just be as neat as possible so you don't have to keep going back and forth between the two colors. Okay, try to get as much of it as you can where it's supposed to be. Sometimes you do make mistakes. I know I do. to be super careful. Now the other thing is, if you want to try and paint the sides of it, be my guest. I'm not going to, because that's just going to be too much work for me. I'm just trying to paint. I'm just trying to get the paint where it needs to go. Okay. And note that these things form a sort of, like, they have a little part that comes down and a little part that comes down, and then it comes down to kind of a point. Okay. So the leather kind of comes down like this, and then this stuff kind of comes up like that, if that makes sense. Okay, so make sure that you get the two little points on the side, because if you don't get those two little points on the side, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb. Okay. And so as you can see, okay, there's all the painted bits. And if you can kind of see, the little, how it kind of makes a little U shape. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope that makes sense. Alrighty. Alright. Let me... Okay. What should we do next? Let's do... I'm going to take the burgundy. Because we can always highlight this later. Okay. Burgundy. This is a base coat. Okay, so it's not going to be super bright, but this is the beginning of the red color, because we're going to come back later and we're going to highlight the hell out of it and make it look all nice and bright, and it's going to look cool. Okay, but what we want to do for right now is we want it to sort of stick out so that we know when we get to that point, we're going to be like, ah, yes. Okay, let's highlight that. Okay. No, it doesn't matter. It looks like I have a little bit of cleanup to do, but that's okay. I can get it later. I'm not going to worry about it tonight. It's like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock as I'm filming this. It happens. Spend a lot of the day just kind of messing around, playing some different games. Playing some old, got my SNES working again, and I'm really happy, so I've been playing some Final Fantasy IV. aka 2 on the SNES, which I absolutely love. It's my favorite game of all time, outside of Chrono Trigger. I've also been playing some... I started playing 10 again. I haven't played it in so long. It's alright. It's not my favorite. I even started playing 7 a little bit. But again, not my favorite. Probably some people are going to be like, wait a minute. You don't like 7? Sacrilege. Sacrilege, I tell you. Sacrilege. Okay. I think what we will do is... chocolate brown, melted chocolate, I guess. That's the color. My really deep dark brown. It's the one I love to use the most. Oh, come on now. Stop your stuff. Okay. You don't have to paint every single slat that I'm doing here. Just slather the paint on it and let the shade do the work. But for me, it's just less I have to do later. Besides, if you paint it individually, it keeps it nice and varied. This side, I'm just going to have to paint the hell out of it, hope for the best. That's not going to work. Hey. I missed a couple spots of silver. What am I gonna do with myself? Kill me now. Say, how dare you, Russ? Jerk. What are you doing? Missing spots and shit. Disgusting. Disgusting. Alright. So we'll have to come back and kind of clean up some of that. Which is fine. I can do that. That's not a problem. Oh, and I need to get his hair. Again, this is a base. This is a base color. I'm just getting it on so that when we get to, after we get done with the shading in the next episode, and then we get to the highlighting stage, then we'll build up the color a little bit more, and it'll make it look much, much better But again, that's all relative. Kind of hurrying now because I want to get the last little bit done before I call it an episode. Because if I can get all of the base coating done, then in the next episode, all we have to do is just get his all right. So use my moccasin here. Because I'm going to get okay. And this is what I meant by we were going to use a little bit of a different brown to get the straps, because what it does is to showcase the straps a little bit better. We use a little bit of a different brown, and that sets off the color a little bit against the previous browns. The previous brown's a little bit darker. This one stands out a little bit more, and it makes it pop ever so against the brown. I always love using this moccasin as like highlight color almost. Or in this case, I use it as like a strap color, and it makes it look just so good. Shoot. This one's hard to see. I hate when that happens. These are much easier. Okay. And last but not least, there's a pouch. I think we'll call it an episode. Right. Getting close to time. When we come back on the next episode, we will highlight this, or we will shade it, and then we will highlight it. Okay, so as you can see, we got the straps on the back of his band braces, or of his greaves here, and then we got that little pouch, and then we got the little straps up there. And yeah, when we come back, we're going to shade this, and then after we get done shading it, we will we will turn to the highlighting section, which is going to be kind of one of the most, it's going to be one of the most interesting parts of this, is doing the shading of it. Okay? So, smash that like button, hit subscribe, drop a comment below, let me know what you think of the episode so far. If there's anything in my pile of shame that you would like me to see, like if you want to see me paint up this Bloodstoker, if you want to see me finish painting the Korgorath, or hell, if you'd even like to see me paint up one of my Stormcast Eternals, let me know. If you'd like to see some Lord of the Rings stuff, like if you'd like to see me paint some goblins or elves or men or something along those lines, let me know. If you'd like to see my pile of shame, I still have yet to hear from people about that. But if that's what you want to see, let me know in the comments below. And as we say, we will see you on the next one.